goes into some games early on. Nobody really has a scouting, on Jeff Powers. He catches, boom, he knocks it down. Well, you can be sure that the next time somebody plays, they're saying, hey, when Powers' kid goes in, you can't give him an open look. So now he's being defended differently. And that goes across the boards. What if you're going down to a guy over and over and over again? They're saying, "Hey, look, let's bring a second guy. Let's front. So things change, and you have to have an offense that accommodates those changes, and personnel change. The Wares, for example, are very physical. They're very physical, and so different people. Washington's not very big. And Washington State's not very big as far as their coverage. So it changes from game to game based on personnel and what they emphasize going into a game. We'd like to establish in the paint on a consistent basis, but at the same time, the big guys have to ask, they have to position themselves, and they have to catch the ball.
You anticipate a sort of lively battle between Solomon and McKinsky in there? They're 1 and 2 in the conference and rebounding. Are their games similar, or what do you expect there now?
Bashinsky's way, way bigger. He's just one of those guys that, one, to his credit, he's improved a great deal since he's been there at Arizona State, and he's got, they have a similarity in that they have good timing on their shot blocking, but Bashinsky seems a little more committed to that right now than Richard. He's averaging, he's got 88 blocks on the year, which is really pretty good, and he's longer. I mean, he's 7'2" with really good frame and strength. So it'll be a challenge for Richard, certainly, both offensively and defensively.
Does Baczynski score his points just off picked up stuff, off rebounds?
No, he's got back to basket moves. If he gets to right shoulder, left hand jump hook and can get deep, it's pretty automatic. And he's strong. He's hard to get away from the basket. He's a little bit opportunistic, but they do go to him. They play 4-round-1, and they will go to him. And you can't just stand behind and let him catch deep in the paint, or he'll score.
Does he distort what you do offensively with his shot blocking ability?
If you let it. I mean, if you go in, I would think of the fact that he's averaging 4.5 blocks. That's a key statistic, but how many shots is he changing? How many shots are you going in there aware of him, and all of a sudden you change what you do because you're afraid to get a shot blocked? You got to go in, make a play, create contact, go to the basket with the idea of scoring. If he blocks it, there's still a fair chance you can get the ball back, but it's no more than that. But sometimes psychologically it becomes more than that because guys get gun shy going in there. You got to go in and you got to make plays.
Have you seen that from other teams against him?
I haven't paid attention to that. My experience tells me that's what happens over the years. You go in, all of a sudden there's a guy in there, and guys change what they're trying to do.
At for the Washington, when you played Washington, you said that Justin sort of asked for the defensive assignment on Wilcox. Has he done the same with Carson in this game? Or
Well, he does. He doesn't ask. We don't have ballots, asking who gets who. Justin has done a really good job. He's accepted a challenge defensively. He's been one of our better defenders. He's a fifth-year guy. He's a veteran. He's strong, and he does have good quickness, so he's capable of that. So that's a natural matchup for him regardless in terms of his ability to guard that position.
Coach, we're doing a feature on Jordan Matthews, and I'm sure you knew his father, fiery guy at USF. Does Jordan share any of that same trait?
Jordan has a mean side to him. I mean, he's not afraid. He'll stick his nose and compete with you. I'm sure that comes from his dad, and I'm sure when you get after Jordan a little bit, I'm sure it's not the first time he's heard that conversation. So, you see Jordan furrow his brow a little bit, flatten his nose. He'll compete.
The two freshmen you have with fathers who have the basketball background, do you notice more polish from them as compared to some of the other freshmen that you've had?
I assume you're referring to Jordan. Who else?
Cameron.
Okay. Well, Carl Bird, played. I mean, I would wonder in there. No, I wouldn't say that with Cameron. Cameron's just a different person because of his size. I mean, his adjustments are much different than somebody else's might be. You can see the touch that he has is similar to what his dad has. He has a very similar shot to his dad. It's a kind of a non-rotating, very soft type jump shot. They're very similar in a lot of the ways that they've played the game, but Cameron's just, his thing is just getting his body, changing his body to where he can move and jump and run and all those kinds of things, and he'll do that.
Would you expect, as the next couple of seasons goes on, that Cameron would become a little more coordinated within his body and what he can do? Is that something you would or work
Well,
with?
I think any big guy, regardless, big guys have way different development patterns than guards do. And you look at a big guy and you say, well, he's going to be this because he'll change. He'll get stronger. He'll shed some body fat. He'll get more explosive. He'll get more confident. All those things. Cameron's one of those guys. In 2 years, you'll look at it and say, whoa, is that the same guy? Provided he does the work, because he will change drastically. He's got good hands, and he's just got to get to where the weight room's his best friend, and he changes his body, moves a little bit quicker, a little more explosive, and I think you'll be amazed at what happens. But that's the same with any of those kids. Look at Richard from where Richard came. Look at Krabish from where Krabish came. That's just what big guys do. Bashinsky from when Bashinsky came.
Cameron has already shed quite a bit of weight from when you, also when you first got him, let's say when he committed, he's already dropped quite a bit.
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about just that. You know, he didn't really understand. Part of what everybody questioned about him was how bad he wanted to be a player and that he had to make a commitment physically, and he started to figure that out long about his junior year sometime, and he changed, and that's when people could say, hey, this guy will do the work. But he's a really big kid, and there's just a lot of things that can happen and will happen for a guy like that.
Are you finding his work ethic is improving?
He needs direction. He needs to be, he'll do what you ask him to do, but he's a kid that wants to do it, but he needs direction.
At some point, that you expect him to figure that out and do that on his own without his, that happen to somebody else?
He's got to look at his diet and understand how diet affects him, and he's got to kind of start to factor all the things that involve a big kid like that, and put them into play. And like most kids, when he starts to see results, he'll get excited about it. And he's a really nice kid. In some ways, he's a real laid-back kid, and I'm not sure that's an advantage in this particular case. Very likable. Everybody on the team really likes Cameron. But, he's going to have to look and say, okay, here's what I can do. And then once he gets going on that, it's, like I say, the changes will be pretty drastic.
With Justin defending Carson, is the biggest issue staying in front of him because of his quickness?
Yeah, he creates a lot of fouls by jumping into you, and it's troubling in terms of trying to figure out how these calls are going to be made, who creates the contact and who is where. The officiating emphasis this week, there was a video, and it talked about 10-1-4 about how the defender should not be penalized for being in a normal guarding position, but there's a lot of difficulty interpreting what this whole thing's supposed to be about. It's frustrating for everybody, I think. Some teams are probably have done a better job of this whole hands back thing, and than others where the natural tendencies just whatever. So yeah, you got to stay in front of him, and you're going to need help, and yet you can't overcommit to help and allow him to make others better players.
Is he a guy who's taken advantage of that change in the rules and attacked?
I think that's just his natural way that he plays. I haven't really looked at the free throw situation to see that if he has an inordinate number of free throws. But you can see situations where he's driven and the kid has kind of been moving along laterally, and all of a sudden he gets almost like a surprise to the defender. He just jumps in, and you're kind of like, well, it's almost like you have to disappear. And he's gotten some calls. But I don't, anybody that's smart would take advantage of that.
You have more guys who can attack the basket now than you've probably had in the past with the
Well, tagging the basket requires first step quickness. I mean, you do have to get a half step by somebody to have it be effective. And that's the key, is to get that half step where you're on the way to the basket as compared to just attacking the basket. I wouldn't say that was necessarily one of our strengths.
Up until last weekend, it seemed clear that Tyrone had improved his shooting. Then down in LA, he goes like 2 for 18 on his from the field. Is that just an aberration, or what does he have to do to get, you know?
Well, it's, trust me, nobody's more frustrated than Tyrone. He's aware. He just has to get more shots at the basket. He has to get more things at the basket and not settle for the shot. I think he gains confidence when he gets a couple shots down. Again, that's one of those scouting things. Everybody's going to play him differently, maybe dare him to make a shot before they worry about him type thing. And shot goes down, he'll gain some confidence. But, I mean, we watched him yesterday in practice, and the ball was rotating and was going down pretty regularly. So, I mean, there's no question that stretch where he was shooting the ball well, and the shot probably selection was a little bit different, but that might be based on what the defense has given him and where he was able to get with the ball. And so it's hard when you have somebody or more than one person that people are not going to defend on the perimeter. It really clogs it up for everything.
Mike, you have a sellout for Arizona on Saturday, but ASU's pretty good, it looks like. What's your thoughts on them generally?
They're very good. You know, they're 4-3, so I don't know what their distribution of home road is, but and how much difference that makes. But they got off to a real good start. Again, I haven't looked at their schedule. I know that they've got size, they've got physical guys, they've got three new players that, you know, one of those fifth-year guys that's got experience, another JC kid that has 1 year left, that's 3 years in, and Carson, who's a premier point. Anytime you have, it's like Major League Baseball. If you take care of the middle, you're probably in pretty good shape in terms of, you know, catcher, pitcher, center fielder. It's the same thing with big guy and point guard, and they've got that.